It's 6 o'clock. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the February 4th, 2026 meeting of the Finance Committee. This meeting was posted online as required. It is a hybrid meeting, so roll call votes will be required, and this meeting will be recorded to assist in the production of minutes. So having called this to order, I need to take a roll call vote to establish quorum. Alyssa.
Here.
Nate.
Here.
Raphael.
Here.
George.
Here.
John.
Here.
Bob.
Here.
I'm here as well, 7-0. We do have a quorum tonight. I do not see anybody from the public unless Lori wants to weigh in as a member of the public. No. Okay. So we'll go directly to transfers. We do have one transfer, which is an administrative transfer request, and I'll let anybody who wants to see it here, I'll pass this around. Well,
So we had a retirement for our GIS consultant. It's the Geographic Information Systems. And that fell under the Information Technology Department. And when that person retired, they started to recruit for that position. And during that recruitment, it was decided to move that position to the engineering division under DPW. So what we're doing really is just transferring the money, the salary money from IT to engineering, because they hired somebody and they started. And also we're transferring some of the money for a consultant because the engineering department hired a GIS consultant, while we were waiting to hire someone full-time, and that consultant's going to work with the new GIS person just in the short term to get them up and running. So that's really what the transfer is, transferring salaries from the IT department to the engineering division to cover that position.
any questions? Hearing none. Motion to approve.
I'll move it.
Perkins.
I'll second.
Nate. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Raphael.
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
I'm an aye as well. 7-0. Thank you very much. So we will move immediately into our budget transfer, not our budget transfers, for our budget review. Tonight we welcome DPW, Public Works, and as well as the appropriate enterprise accounts. Jeff, would you like to give an introduction of some sort, or would you prefer that we simply start into the package?
I'm happy for you to start into the package and we can cover the budgets as you see fit. There's really not that many changes this particular fiscal year, but happy to highlight those when we get there.
Okay. Since Lori is online and I am very sensitive to the amount of work that she puts in, I would suggest that we start our review with wastewater and water, which are obviously her areas of expertise. So if you would turn to page 96. So wastewater is, well, no, wastewater.
Oh, you're gonna start.
Wastewater, just again, she does both.
Oh.
Obviously, there's a lot of new things happening in wastewater, as we've heard from the town administrator, including a plan to bring in the plant manager that would be assisting in the initial oversight of the getting that business, the wastewater plant underway, as well as, I guess, sort of eventually hoping to get this thing turned on. So Jeff, why don't you give us a quick introduction to this one?
Sure, certainly. The significant change for the wastewater enterprise budget is the introduction of two full-time positions. We're looking to ramp up the operations, and it's important as we start to finish some portions of the collection system and get well on our way, if not finishing portions during this upcoming fiscal year of the treatment plant, that we have the people that are going to be responsible for those areas on board. So this particular budget has the salaries for a collection system supervisor and a treatment plant supervisor. You'll remember that we already have in this budget Ryan Chase, our assistant wastewater superintendent, who will oversee both of those positions. He's already been in the wastewater budget for a little over a year now and been doing a great job. So we know that ultimately when the facility's up and running in what we think will be early 2028, that we'll need to be fully staffed at 6 people to run the facility and deal with collection system issues. This is our attempt to step our way into that by bringing 2 people on now during construction to become familiar with the components of the system early on before they're fully up and running. They'll be able to, for instance, over at the treatment plant, have some input into, pumps and motors and, operational types of things as we start to bring those online. So that's the introduction. We're not really looking to ramp up the other expenses at this time, but in FY28, we will need to do that. Lori, do you have anything else you want to add for wastewater?
No, not for wastewater.
We sort of thought that would be pretty straightforward. Any questions from other members of the committee?
Yeah, so in doing this.
Mr. Harding.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Have you done any analysis of doing it this way, whereby you're hiring employees of a town
Sure.
versus an operation management contract? I mean, something we talked about a year ago or 2 years
Sure.
ago.
We've looked at it and the costs are very similar. So what the intention is to see if we can even find people to do these 2 new positions, if you will. I suspect it's going to be very difficult. And if that's the case, we'll know that entering in 2028, that we'll just need to contract out the full operations. So this is an attempt to see if there's people available to do that function that live and kind of work in our area or are willing to relocate and do that type of work. But knowing that there are other communities that are in our exact same situation with bringing new wastewater facilities on board and the difficulties they're having with bringing in licensed operators, I think it's very likely that we won't be able to fill the positions and that we know going into the next fiscal year that we'll have to do a request for proposals and go down that contract operations. But we've done enough analysis in looking at communities that have the contract operations, and in Yarmouth, we have contract operations for a septic facility. So we can easily compare the cost of that operation, which is 5 staff people, with the 6 that we believe we'll need at this facility. It's a slightly larger facility, at least initially, and realize that the costs are very, very similar because they have it's essentially a labor only contract, and there's so much salary that is expected in these types of licensed positions that we know that the cost will be very similar. It's just a matter of whether we can find people or not. That is the nice thing about the contract operations is they bring people in. We don't have to deal with the recruiting and the finding of license.
In fact, it was in Chatham when you were there. Didn't you have a
Contract
operation
operations.
management contract?
That's correct.
Wastewater. So.
Yes, yep.
So you do, obviously, all the benefits. I mean, from my point of view, the benefits are that, one, you're not carrying on all the fringe benefits of the retirement, the cost of retirement, the cost of OPEB, and all those other ancillary things that are associated with having employees. And I know because we talked about that before, this is not just a Cape Cod problem.
Right.
It's a national problem, right? They can't find enough qualified engineers to run these facilities, which,
Right. And there's an opportunity even with bringing on these funds into the wastewater enterprise that we could potentially contract out even just 2 positions if we needed to bring people on pretty quickly. We could just kind of thinking aloud here, we have an existing contract. We could amend that contract with
Right.
Weston and Sampson at Septage and say, hey, you got to have 2 people to run this. So we have all those different possibilities that are available to us.
Yeah.
I will say that the other brand new facilities wastewater facilities on Cape Cod that I'm familiar with, such as Orleans and Mashpee, went contract out just because they could not find people. So that's why I suspect we'll be headed in that same direction. But we'll at least test the market and see what we can find.
Thanks. And one last question, and you mentioned, how many staff people do you think it would take to, when you begin, running the facility? How many?
6. We
Six.
expect it will need 6.
6.
Jennifer,
Yes, I just wanted to mention, I've mentioned this in the past, is that since these are general obligation bonds, we're borrowing from the trust. That when you do contract these facilities out, you have to be very careful on how you design the RFP. Because you can't completely give over control to a private entity because these are non-taxable bonds. So this is something that has to be worked with. You have to work out with your bond counsel and discuss with them, and they have to approve the RFP because it has to be done in a certain way that doesn't put those bonds in jeopardy.
Yeah. Yes, and I agree with you, but I bet you, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, the vast majority of these facilities that are being financed by SRF funds. I can name you 3 or 4 that I've been involved with just in the last few years. They have outside operation and management contracts and,
No, you can do it. You just have to be very careful about the
yeah,
way you
and
wrote it.
bond
write
council's
it.
so used to it that
Yeah.
they can structure it in such a way that there's no issue in terms of, I mean, it's not as if a private operator is coming in for ownership. It's just a contract and if you go a step further, the rating agencies actually really look favorably on using operation and management contracts. And there's plenty of evidence of that. So that's why I've always been a big proponent of it. So
so I like the fact that though that this has been, and it already anticipated as part of your plan. Good.
Yeah.
Raphael, you have your hand raised as well?
Yes, thanks, Jeff, for the information. Follow-up question: this initial staffing of 6, are these folks going to be responsible for maintenance and repairs, or are we going to have service contracts that are going to backstop, 24/7 operations?
That's a good question. They will be responsible for maintenance and repairs that are, within their abilities. There's going to be pumps and motors that will need to go through a vendor that specializes in those particular components. Not unlike we have for some of the other water systems where there's Hawk or other vendors that need to come in and maintain those particular very technical pieces of equipment.
Right.
But to the extent of flushing mains or dealing with some very typical operator level maintenance, that will be done in-house.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none. The one that Lori really likes to talk about, which is water, which is on page 98, 99, and 100. It goes on and on.
Yeah, so I'll introduce this one just with the most significant change in the budget. Lori can go into a lot more detail because this is a much larger budget with a lot more detail involved in it. But the one significant item that I'd like to mention for the Water Special Revenue Fund is we are looking to bring on a new staff person that is an asset manager. So we have been slowly stepping into some pretty significant assets in water with PFAS treatment and with some other components in water. But bringing on a wastewater system, we're going to have a lot of additional treatment and pumps and motors that are going to need to be tracked, and bringing in an asset manager that's going to assist us with an overall asset management program is what we're looking to do in water. This position would also be responsible for wastewater, and then as we build on their responsibility, stormwater as well. So it's really a utility asset manager position. We have not committed to what particular asset management software that this person will be operating, but that is a task that our current engineer, CDM Smith, has on their plate. They've been helping us develop the request for proposals and the studies to back up, what particular elements associated with an asset management system we're going to need as we start to build out our infrastructure. So this is a good time to bring somebody on board that can hit the ground running from day one of having an asset management system in place. So that is the one new position within water that I wanted to mention. Lori, do you want to highlight any of the other items within water?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing major other than that. The main increase of the bottom line for our budget is the increase in debt service for wells 4 and 5. And there's more of that coming in the next few years with water mains installs and then wells 10 and 11 PFAS treatment. But there's otherwise they just kind of move money around to be better in the better line item, but overall no major increase or anything.
Again, this is much like any other enterprise fund. You'll see that we've allocated, the town allocates direct assessments for retirement, healthcare, and all of the other direct costs as well as indirect cost. I had asked Jennifer about specifically about fuel usage, and that was covered under the indirect, if I recall.
I believe it is.
Yeah. So one of the things that Jeff had sent to us, which was in the packet, was the fuel usage report. Water is one of the departments which has been picking up the pace, so to speak. The gallons used by the water department have been going up about 1,000 gallons a year for fuel from roughly, I think it was 15,000 in 2022 all the way up to like 17,000 today. So obviously you're out on the road a lot more these days.
Yeah, I didn't know that about the fuel, but we've definitely even since I started, when I started, we were understaffed. We're starting to get close to being fully staffed, so that's part of it. And then just with all the sewer work and water main jobs and water main breaks, we're definitely all around town a lot every day.
So there, and again, this is the other part that's important about the Water Special Revenue Fund is Lori is using her software, WaterWorks, if I remember correct.
WaterSmart.
WaterSmart, to correctly determine what the price points should be. We are anticipating starting in July of 2026. There will be a increase in both the meter as well as the gallon rates. So you've already, and it's already been approved. So you're already on that track.
Yeah, I've been trying to go for 2 years of increases at a time just to make it a little easier on everyone.
But you also have to have, but that's the flip side of that is financial stability and sustainability. So
yeah, we've done a lot of work in the last 5 years. We've spent a lot of money, and the rates hadn't changed in 25 years. So we're doing a lot of catch up right now, both financially and with our physical assets.
any other questions from the group on water?
I have one question. Lori, are there any, significant capital improvements or capital expenditures anticipated? And what might those be? And more importantly, are they in the capital plan?
Yes, we have a capital plan that includes, we have a lot more to do. We're currently, so we recently we did 3 phases of upgrades to the buildings, replacing roofs and trim and ventilation, things like that. We have done the PFAS treatment at 4 and 5. We are currently in design of treatment at PFAS treatment for wells 10 and 11. So that will be coming up. We did secure an SRF loan for that. We have the new water main on Route 28 that's going in alongside the sewer lines on Route 28. So we're halfway through. We've made it to the Parkers River Bridge and need to get the rest of the way to Barnstable. And then we have Route 6A water main. All the funding so far for these have already been approved. This spring, we're just going to be asking for funding for additional SCADA upgrades. We already started SCADA upgrades. They're in progress right now. That's our control system for the water system. So we're asking for a little bit more for that. That will get us into modern times with all of our electronic equipment in all of our wells. And beyond that, we do have a capital plan of more water main replacements and some other smaller improvements to the system. And they are all in the capital plan.
Great, thank you.
Lori, I have a question for you. Oh, sorry.
Melissa, I mean,
Alyssa?
by the way, this is only for the recording. So
Yes.
Jackie, it helps Jackie know who's speaking.
Alyssa here. So if I recall, and I'm sorry, my brain is a little fuzzy on the details, but I believe we voted at special town meeting to do some sort of consulting with the airport to look into PFAS solutions. And I just wanted to see or answers, I guess. I just wanted to see if there's any updates there and if you'd be considering asking for additional funds if for some reason we're getting answers that we needed.
Yeah, so that is not exactly related to drinking water per se. The pollution from the airport and the fire training academy fortunately don't affect our wells, but it's more related to groundwater and impacts on people who live in the area who are swimming in the water that's coming through from those pollution sources or walking around or digging or whatever. So we have Kleinfelder, who's also our water consultant on that, and they're reviewing the studies from the airport as well as from the county on their treatment methods. The county has put in a permeable reactive barrier that's supposed to stop. It's like a barrier, a physical barrier in the ground that will stop and treat for PFAS. So they're working on that. The airport has capped a lot of their source locations, though there's been a lot of pushback that that's not enough, and so they've kind of gone back to the drawing board with what they're going to be doing. So I think that's kind of the update at the moment. Moves pretty slowly, but there's still some work to be done at the airport for sure.
Okay, so that would fall under a different budget. That would be natural resources.
Yeah, no, really, Bob Rittenauer is kind of spearheading that one, so it's under his budget.
Got
And
it. Okay.
we are asking for more money in the spring to continue Kleinfelder's work, kind of navigating everything for us and being able to translate it for us in our perspective, make sure that Yarmouth is being represented in these talks. We weren't even invited in the beginning, the town of Yarmouth, so we're trying to get ourselves in there and know what's going on.
It would be a free cash article, maybe. Who
I
knows?
haven't seen it
Yeah,
yet.
I know.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Sorry to take us off track. I thought this was under this department.
It's something we're aware of.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not directly involved.
So the asset manager software, is that reflective in the software number that is on page 99, or is that potentially something that we don't know the answer to yet, or it hasn't been reflected?
Yeah, we don't know the answer to that quite yet. It will be within the water budget, like many of the current software applications. It's typically subscription based, so there won't be a huge upfront cost. It's more of a monthly cost that can be built in and paid for out of water. We have made multiple attempts in the past at asset management systems, and one of those, CityWorks, more than 10 years ago now, had a huge upfront cost, but that's just the way that those types of products were structured at that time. Now with the subscription service, kind of cloud-based software, if you will, they're much more manageable. We have not reflected a number specifically because the software package hasn't been selected, if you will.
Boy,
That software line item, if you're interested, covers our census software, which is our meter software, because we have the automatic reading system, Code Red, which is the reverse 911 system, and our backflow testing tracking software, and our GIS.
yeah, yeah. Excellent. Other questions from the committee? Hearing none. Lori, unless you want to hang around.
Could we cover septic?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
involved in septage too.
Okay, oh, absolutely. So septage is on page 111 and 112. I'm sorry, Lori.
No problem.
And I do have a question after, if you don't mind.
About,
I want to ask Jeff a question about wastewater. But I'll wait till this is over with.
On septage, there really isn't anything remarkable to point out. It's just something I just want to make sure Lori was here. We've got a couple of capital projects ongoing and other things we're doing that are pretty important with septage, but from an operational standpoint, we are just trying to maintain the facility with the budget that we have, trying to keep it within a reasonable amount, because we know that we haven't, this is a budget that is supported by revenues from the septic haulers that come to the facility. We have not raised rates in quite a few years. We know that we're going to have to at some point, but we're really doing our best job to manage the budget, operational budget the way we have. And then based upon the capital investments and the debt service associated with that, take a look at raising the rates in the relatively near future. But we're looking to, generally keep a good handle on the operational budget to try to keep costs down. Do you have anything else you want to add on septage, Lori?
Yeah, I guess just the building itself. I mean, the plant is about 40 years old, and it has a lot of, it's very corrosive environment. It's hard to maintain everything, even just like paint is, comes off because of the corrosive environment. So it's just a lot of parts that we have to replace, a lot of repairs and maintenance. So that budget itself has increased. And then the plant operations is a contractual price. So that's gone up as well.
as a customer service, obviously being available for the haulers to is key to getting the revenues in. How are we doing in terms of access and time, so that haulers that do show up get taken care of briskly?
Well, actually, our revenues, I don't know if the actual revenues are down, but certainly our gallons have been down lately just because of all the work that we've had to do in the wintertime, especially right now. We're replacing or repairing the equalization tanks. So when the septage comes in, it goes into one of two tanks, and the corrosion that's happened over the last 40 years has made them, they're falling apart. So one of those tanks is down right now, so they have to cut back flow to the plant, which means they have to cut back how much they can take in. Although right now they don't get a lot anyways because of the snow. But certainly there's been a decline in the winter recently due to some of the maintenance that we have to do in the winter with all the tankage.
So when will we be back at full capacity?
So the project that we're doing right now is only going to take care of one of the two equalization tanks. So this winter will be number one. The next tank will be next winter for tank number two. So after that, we should hopefully get back to a more normal ability to take flow.
Other questions?
Yeah. So on Weston Sampson, if you look at these expenses, their expenses, is there a line item for their services?
Plant operator.
Yes, plant operator, yes.
I'm sorry?
Plant operator.
Oh, okay, that's their, okay,
That's the Weston
Got it.
Sampson contract.
okay,
The 5 staff members
Got
they
it.
have, yeah.
so. And you've been pretty comfortable with them as a service contractor over the years?
They do a good job.
Good job, yeah.
It's all about, I think, their project manager, Dave Bernier, is very dedicated and committed, and has been there for a long time.
Great. Terrific. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Okay. Going on to Jeff, where you want to just go back to?
So we're all set with Lori then.
We're all set with Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
All right, thank you.
I mean, the advantage is that, as I noted in one of my things, is the hard work that goes into presenting this budget binder is huge. In terms of being able to go through this with, because you've already done the hard work. You've made the tough choices. It's not like we're facing, oh my God, what are we going to do here?
Right.
So, I guess, do you want to just go through these in orders? We would start with the facilities department on page 71?
Yes. that
Or is
would be
that
great.
out of, you want?
I think that would be great. Just
Okay.
right in order. Facilities. This is one I think every time I've come before you, I've talked about the challenges with regards to the cost of repairing things going up each year, even if we're not adding facilities. But we have aging facilities that do require a lot of service, and those service contracts have been going up each year. So I say all of that because that's really the only thing that's significantly changing in the facilities budget is the repair and maintenance line item. That's been allowed to increase $20,000. I know it's a challenging fiscal environment that we're in generally, but as you can see in 2025 actual, we spent over $93,000. So we felt that the $80,000 budget needed to be adjusted at some point. Fortunately, there was sufficient money in the overall scheme of things to bring that up to $100,000 for this particular year. That goes for things like, any of the HVAC maintenance, elevator maintenance, sprinkler systems, any of the systems within buildings. That's primarily what that line item goes for. And so we're happy to see that be able to increase somewhat so that we can cover those additional costs this upcoming year.
Now, part of the other discussion with the town manager was the plan to add a buildings and grounds or refill the buildings and grounds supervisor role that has been on the books for a number of years. And with an offset from a highway department laborer, mechanic, sorry, I think it was mechanic or laborer. So is the buildings and grounds supervisor reflected in these numbers, or is that?
It is not, no. So there's been nothing changed in the budget for that proposal. That's the recommendation, and Bob's been very supportive of that to fill that position. Not only because there's a lot of maintenance associated with facilities that needs to continue, but adding recreation facilities and other things, there's certainly a need to bring in some additional supervision with regards to facilities and parks and cemeteries. That's the primary responsibility of this position. It was previously filled. I don't know if anybody remembers Dick Court, but when he was here, that this is his position. He oversaw those three functions and had some capacity within his and talent, of course, to manage a few facilities projects as well. So we know that we have a backlog of facilities projects, whether it's replacing a roof or doing some other significant work on some of our aging facilities, that we need that resource again to help oversee some of those projects going forward. So that's the idea. You're absolutely right. The idea was to use funds within other areas of the DPW budget to pay for that position, at least in this particular fiscal year.
So
when we met with departments, we like to discuss, the needs, and I think, Bob and recognizes this is just a huge need for our facilities. We really do need that, but the budget is just so tight. So we look for ways to be efficient. So we've had a open position for a while now for a mechanic. And we just haven't been able to fill. There's 2 open positions, I believe.
There is, yeah.
And we just haven't been able to fill them. So what we're going to do is take the funds from that to fund a facilities manager with some additional funds. And that's something that can be done this fiscal year. We didn't put it in the budget because it's really something that Bob wanted to present to the select board and make sure that they were on board. So we're in that process right now, but it's something that it will allow DPW to move on sooner rather than later. And then once, everybody's on board with that, what we're going to do, then you'll see it recognized in the budget. If you don't see it recognized in the budget for town meeting, then we'll do a transfer. It will take a while to hire this person.
So we would use a process similar to the one we just did for
Yeah.
that transfer.
Right. But that's the thought right now, trying to, again, be more efficient, knowing that this is just a really huge need, but there was no way we could really, in the operating budget, fit an additional position.
Mr. Perkins,
Jeff, you asked for 130,000, you only got 100,000 for maintenance. What will not be maintained?
Well, what we're going to struggle to maintain is Matikes. And while some of the previous town meetings, we've had money appropriated for Matikes, there is a little bit of a budget or a little bit of amount that remains in those capital articles. But in the absence of that, we reflected all the costs associated with maintenance. And so the short answer to your question is we're not going to be able to maintain everything Matikes needs out of this budget, but we do have some residual monies that will help us get part of the way there as well. That's
Okay.
becoming a very expensive building to maintain.
Yep, okay.
thank you, Mr. Perkins. Mr. Anderson.
Just for my own clarification. So is this for all town buildings or all town buildings with the exception of like enterprise fund buildings? Or?
This is primarily all town buildings. There are some costs in the enterprise funds like septage and water where they maintain some of the building costs through their budgets. But I would say that primarily all of the other town buildings that don't have a funding source, if you will, are maintained on this
So
budget.
like golf would be maintained.
That's right,
would be
golf
separate.
does it.
Like they have their own like custodial, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nate.
Okay, I've had 3 people ask me about the senior center. The ladies' room is terrible. It's missing radiator covers. It needs paint. It's deplorable. One person, a gentleman, asked me about the building that has dry rot in certain areas of it. And Bill Scott, during his tenure, was looking at fixing it year after year after year, and never really anything really happened. Somebody told me that at one point the Friends of the Senior Center were going to give $30,000 toward remodeling the bathrooms, but we couldn't figure out how to get the outhouses for it. So,
Jennifer, you had,
Yeah, so I can answer this question. So Amy Vigiletti supervises the senior center, and she's been working on this project. So recently we had a meeting, we're looking at all the process. Before, when Bill Scott was supervising this project, they went to town meeting, I think probably prematurely, to make some fixes in the bathroom. And then when they looked at it a little bit more, there might have been some structural issues. So he didn't really want to move forward with it. But we've looked at it. We have different funding sources. We have, we're in the process of getting an architect on board to look at it, because it's not just fixing up the bathroom. I think they need to expand it a little bit, make it handicap accessible. So they want to make sure that they're hitting everything in this bathroom. So she's looking right now, getting a architect on board and moving forward with that project. So that will move forward now that Amy's on board. So that's why it took a little while.
could I recommend Eric Tully as an architect?
We do have a bidding process, we try to
Yeah,
keep
but,
everybody on a.
He was a selectman.
can't, it has to be inconsistent with procurement.
Oh, I agree, but so the local that knows, so the bathroom was never, because I remember that conversation. So it was never
No,
done.
they just say it's getting worse every time they go there.
The good,
And then they're comparing it now to Dennis.
well, don't go there. Don't go there. So let's get back, that's gonna be a project that Amy's.
Yeah, we're moving forward with that now.
Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You will?
I'll tell them.
Any other questions on the facilities budget? Otherwise, we will move to DPW administration.
Alyssa, just quick question. This doesn't include current schools like that are operating that
No.
separate. Okay.
We'll get more insight into the school's budgets next week.
Facility questions there, but yes, I will leave those for next week.
DPW is next, starting on page 73 through 74.
Yes, the DPW admin budget also includes the engineering staff and their expenses in here as well. Other major items include the gas and diesel. Those are pretty significant items that move some money around a little bit within those two line items to cover the costs associated with that. But for the most part, I can say that within the DPW admin budget, there hasn't been any significant adjustments, a little bit on office supplies. But for the most part, it's relatively straightforward. The most significant cost being the salaries, and we talked about that already tonight with the GIS position moving into DPW. That's reflected in this budget, and why the biggest portion of why salaries went up 14% was to accommodate that other position, again, moving over from IT. So that's pretty much it for the DPW admin and engineering budget. There's not a lot of significant changes.
Just a technical question on the related to the gas and oil. Is that the fuel report or is that something different?
That's the fuel report.
Okay, so last year, the fuel report for 25 showed 282,700 and then 71,000 or 72,000. Now, this is an annual number, not a fiscal year number, right? The fuel report is an annual.
That's correct.
Right. So the expectation, I guess, or my question is really to make a point that this recommended budget is consistent with the fuel report that just came out. So, I mean, there's good reason or good the difference that you see here reflected in the FY 2025 actuals versus the increases for again, I'm looking actual versus recommended at this point, not budget to budget, is realistic at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and I can jump in. I mean, it's always hard to, with the economy, you're always looking almost a year in advance.
Right.
But-
On the fuel, we purchase fuel based upon, a procured price, but it's variable. It's not a fixed rate. So we haven't done that fixed rate in many, many years, but there are some communities that like the fixed rate, knowing ahead of time, for the next year what the price is going to be. The challenge we saw when we used to do a fixed rate, 8 or 10 years ago, is that if the price goes down, you're still paying the higher fixed rate. So it was the best. We did a fuel analysis, and it was certainly the best use of the town's limited resources to kind of follow the market, if you will, on that. But because of that approach, we can't budget the fuel, diesel and gas too closely, because what happens if the price goes up and down? The volume might stay the same or might be relatively similar, or I guess you've pointed out in a couple of cases have, volumes gone up slightly. But if the price goes up significantly, we don't want to budget that too tightly and not be able to cover that.
Yeah, actually, overall fuel usage has diesel fuel usage overall has gone up about 1,000 gallons a year for the last 3 years, mostly from, well, no surprise, the fire department, which is obviously doing more ambulance runs, and as well the sanitation has gone up again is it's actually about 1,000 a year. Actually, the fire department is relatively static. It's mostly been the work in the sanitation area, which is driven by revenues. The C&D stuff. So there you go.
Right.
Any other questions? Moving on to the highway department. Page 76 and 77.
Yeah, this is another one that really hasn't had any significant increases. If you look at the percent change column, there's a lot of zeros in there. It's been a pretty level funded budget. There are some increases in the highway salaries line based upon steelworkers contract that was recently negotiated. There's some salary adjustments as part of that. Also, as part of that, it wasn't just straight salary adjustment. There was some incentives that were built into the contract based upon different licenses and that they would be required to maintain, not just CDL, but hoisting licenses as well. Lots of different endorsements that are being required to operate various public works equipment. And so they're incentivized to get those as part of that contract. So that's the biggest piece of the highway budget is just adjustments in salaries.
Questions?
Alyssa, question for you. I don't feel like I had this question last year, the overtimes, and especially with this winter. You requested 15, approved for 5. Where does the money come? Where's the difference coming out of?
So I'd like to
Still
see,
nice, right?
yeah, I'd like to see, I'd like to see the overtime grow slowly. I realize there's a challenge here. But be fair, $5,000 is not a lot.
Say $5,000?
That's about $50 printing.
So hopefully we can find $5,000 in the future to double the
Yeah.
overtime. Because as you can see, even though we keep it as tight as possible and put as much of the overtime into snow and ice as we can reasonably maintain, there are still clear sky day overtime requirements to clean up after accidents or a tree comes down, things like that. That you can see there's $20,000 was spent in FY25. That's an actual. Where that money comes from, I think was the question, is we have vacant positions. And so it just comes out of that. But I still want to take the opportunity to advocate for more than $5,000 someday in the highway overtime. So
we really did we've been trying to do, level funded budgets. So
Yeah.
when we make the recommendation of especially overtime, unless, as you can see, their salary line items well over $1 million. They usually always have open positions that can cover that overtime. That's why we did not increase it, but because we felt it was important that $5,000 go to other areas that we increased the DPW budget. Again, it just comes down to it really being a very, very tight budget year.
Yeah.
There's go back to Bob's presentation, but they do. And the other thing I want to say is, obviously when you see the requested amount and the recommended amount, and you'll see this in all the budgets, and there's a disparity there. But again, Yarmouth is in a unique position with their bylaws that we can transfer money. So if something happens, they're not gonna not go out and clean up after an accident, right?
Mhm.
Public safety is not gonna go out and go on their run. But we do have that unique ability to transfer money from other line items, because there's other line items that might have an open position. And so when you look at the budget as a whole, what we really want to do is we want to create flexibility. So we do have a little bit of flexibility because we can move money around, and we want the budget to fund itself, which it can. But if we increase every single line item with what everybody wanted, you're going to have a larger turn back. And it's hard to do that when you have a tight budget and really the only revenue source you're really going to is maybe a little bit in estimated receipts and the tax levy.
It makes sense. No, that's really helpful. I do agree with Jeff. I would like to see that higher. I think
Everybody agrees with Jeff. I'm just saying.
Sounds like
How can you
refunded.
disagree with you?
Wait till we get to the schools.
Wait till you get to snow and ice. That's what I want.
I have another question. And this may have been in the capital budget, and forgive me if it is. The road repairs, is that under repairs and maintenance, or is that fall into capital budget for fiscal year?
So there is some capital budget items under the road maintenance funds that was that $1 million override from a few years ago.
Yeah.
I would say the bulk of the road maintenance funds are out of that. But there are some small amounts that you will see within the highway budget for repair and maintenance. But it's not a big number. You could, the actuals in 2025 were $35,000. So there might
Okay.
be a little bit of, coal patch or something like that
Like
comes out of
anything
that.
out of scope.
Stone or something like that, small items. But for the most part, it's in the capital budget.
Great. And how is the, I know the hiring, like we just spoke about it and we had spoken about it in the past, recruitment, and retention. Is that continue to kind of be an open question, or is it just, are things moving forward?
I would say we're,
Operating.
we're moving in a positive direction with regards to the open positions in highway, with the exception of the mechanics positions. We have 3 mechanics positions, 2 of them are unfilled. That's a very difficult one that commands a pretty high salary in the private sector. So that's a difficult one that, there's lots of opportunities, let's put it that way, for mechanic. But I would say on the CDL, the commercial driver's license, we've filled a couple recently. And as I sit here today, we have less vacancies than I did last year. I don't know if we'll ever be fully staffed in truck drivers, but we're making progress.
Great. Thank you.
John,
So follow up to that. So the 14
FTE.
at full-time, that's the full salary line, right?
Correct.
And you have the 2 vacant mechanic.
Mechanic
And you
positions.
have other vacancies?
1 truck driver position at this time. We've had some applications. So I think probably a year ago with the same conversation, we had almost no applications, but recently we've had applications. It's just a matter of finding the right person, the right fit for the organization, the right skills. And we actually do a road test for truck drivers to make sure that they can perform in the equipment that we have. So with that said, we still have a vacancy, but we have some applicants for that position.
So you have some money to play with then some serious money to play with on that line.
Yeah.
Continuing then, snow and ice, Jennifer gave us that presentation about snow and ice a couple of weeks ago.
Well, it's not in any better situation at this point. Right now, we are budgeted at $197,100 for snow and ice. That hasn't changed in a long time. The reason for that is because, as you know, we can legally overspend that when it's necessary. And we have had a year or 2 recently where we've been under that budget amount. That is not the case this year. This year, we were significantly over the $197,000 with no end in sight, because February has typically been the snowiest month for at least precipitation wise. So with that said, we'll see where we end up the year, but this is one that, we're not going to be able to know exactly what the weather's going to do. So we've kept it roughly at that $200,000 number for many years, and usually usually exceed that. Although you can look just at last year and see that we didn't. So there are years where we might not need to spend that full amount, but this is not one of those.
And so under the personnel summary, it should not say 7 FTE, that this is just a.
Yeah, it's my mistake.
All overtime.
Yep. So this should be 0, right?
Yeah.
There's nobody that's funded explicitly out of this.
Is it 100% overtime?
The budget also pays for contractors and supplies like salt and sand and things like that. So a bulk of it, a big part of it is overtime.
I don't want your job when you have to make the call. Is that enough?
Is that product gone up quite a bit? Salt and,
It has.
yeah, huh?
Yep, absolutely.
So moving on from snow and ice, that's a movie spot, to our solid waste management operation. Page 82 and 83.
Yes, waste management, this budget hasn't significantly changed either. There's some adjustments in salaries for the same reason as in highway. This is a steel workers contract. It's recently been settled, so there was some adjustments in that. That's the reason why you've seen that that increase, just contractual obligations. We have always struggled with this budget on knowing exactly what the volume that's coming in with construction and demolition material, because that drives the cost dynamic, as well as what the volumes are going to do for recycling or solid waste trash disposal. But I will say for the most part, those have stabilized, and in the case of the volumes have stabilized. In the case of construction and demolition material, we've actually seen that drop a little bit. I don't know if that's because of a change in construction activity or just contractors having other outlets to dispose of construction materials, but we have seen that drop. If you look at our financial reports, we have not kept up at the same level of revenue coming in for C&D as we have in over the last couple of years. So we'll see what happens as we come into the spring and construction activity ramps up, and all of a sudden we see larger volumes come in for construction and demolition materials. But as it stands right now, that number is down. So we felt because the volume was down and the price we're paying is relatively the same as last year, it wasn't in the best interest to increase the budget at all for this cost center. We feel that with the budget we have, we can maintain what we need. That's not been the case in many of the previous years where we've just seen, volumes increase for C&D. We've had to go in many years to a town meeting for a supplemental C&D request. It does not look like that's going to be necessary this year because of the drop in some of those volumes.
And I always am impressed with your teams staying very much on top of the fee structures of other vendors, and so finding yourself in a nice sweet spot, as well as, I think, providing great service. I mean, that's the other thing. A lot of facilities, I mean, obviously the commercial facilities are open because that's their business, but of the towns, you are always at the top in terms of hours of operation that are open. So,
That's a huge point. This is a 7-day-a-week operation. It is closed for the legal town holidays, but there's rare to find a community anywhere in Massachusetts where their disposal area is open 7 days a week. That just typically doesn't happen. Usually there's a couple-day closure to help deal with some cost containment for staffing, or just give staff a break. But that does not happen here.
I mean, right next door, our towns, they're closed like it seems like 3 days or 4 days out of the week.
At least 2, yes.
Yeah. So again, that's another, I think, service benefit, that we talk about the maintaining existing service levels. This is another example of self-funded service, but at an extraordinarily high pace. So, unless there are other questions, our most interesting one of the night, probably Parks, which is starts on page 85 and into 86.
Yeah, Parks is one that I have advocated for a couple of years now to increase the repair and maintenance budget because we are adding parks. It's actually a good place to be where we're adding those types of facilities. It actually speaks well of a community that can invest in parks and recreation facilities. That means you've got lots of other things taken care of, and you can start to focus on some of those nice to haves. With that said, there is an increase in the repair and maintenance line item for parks, approximately, not quite as much as was requested, but approximately $35,000. I had to get that in there. Approximately $35,000, which is a good start, I would say. When you're adding large parks like the Riverwalk Park or the splash pad for maintenance purposes, we're not talking about just equipment or new restrooms. We're talking about major areas that need to be mowed and landscaped. And because of that, again, based upon our calculations, 35,000 is not sufficient, but it's enough to get us started and headed in the right direction with regards to that. So that is what I'd say a significant increase in this particular budget, whereas many of the other budgets realized throughout town have not increased. So it's a good thing, but it is necessary because of the way that we are adding parks and continuing to. I just mentioned two of the parks, but there's a third one that probably won't be necessarily impacting the budget too much in 2027. But the Chasebrook Park, we're also getting ready to start that redevelopment of that park as well. Really nice pedestrian footbridge there, some other nice amenities. That will also have some costs associated with it going forward in future years. And then there's also a select board goal to add additional recreational facilities, so that's gonna need to grow the budget as well.
Is Grays Beach also fall into the park, or is it a separate Grays Beach?
The
There's-
boardwalk that got damaged.
Yeah, there's portions of that facility lake over by the restrooms and picnic area, if you will,
Yeah.
that do fall within this budget for maintenance.
Okay.
How we're paying for repair of that boardwalk, it's not gonna be sufficient money
That's what I was
in this
gonna ask
budget to
you.
do that, so I don't have an answer.
Badly, right?
It has been, yes.
Yeah.
It has been in the past as well. I think in the past, some insurance covered some of the costs. The town does have other funds, reserve and insurance accounts that might be able to be looked at. Certainly not going to be able to be covered within the parks budget, in whole. Maybe there's some assistance or available or that type of thing. Jennifer's pretty creative in how she finds money to pay for things, so that's what I would rely on to fix Gray's Boardwalk, just because it's going to be expensive.
Let us know when you can buy planks.
Yeah, according to the newspaper, a lot of the pilings are bad,
Yeah.
which how do you even get a pile driver in there to
Yeah.
do it?
Now, the other thing you see in the variances here is it looks like they're shifting between lines or trying to simplify it. I'm
Yeah.
Assuming, so maybe that would be worth calling out. So you'll see, for example, repairs and maintenance. Was $14,000 in beaches. That was zeroed out last year. Professional technical was zeroed out. So I'm assuming those have just been moved into
Yeah,
other
it's been
lines.
consolidated.
Yeah. The one that sort of jumped out, not an increase in budget, but an increase in against the actuals was obviously the beach office supplies. And that's again up. So you see it goes from 8,000 to 37,000.
That's what we spent, and then that's what we've been budgeting is the 37,
Right.
and they spent
Right.
8,300. And one thing I do want to say, I don't know, you can jump in, Jeff, but we're not at a point where we're reducing budgets. So if we see somebody spend 8,000,
It's
I don't
not-
know.
you're gonna go-
there might have been we don't want to reduce it just yet. Well, I mean, we can look into it and make sure that we're charging the correct line, but,
Yeah, I'd say
we're not
that
gonna reduce it.
there's a
especially for
need to
beach.
grow this budget, not necessarily reduce it.
Exactly.
Right.
And
So
so
again,
we
that's
can look
my-
at individual line items, but
Sometimes what happens too is when you look at your FY25 actual, and sometimes when you have, changes in staff, something might be spent, like some bills might have been charged to another line item, because when you look at the parks budget, what we really want to do is kind of consolidate it, but you have beach expense, then you have park expense, then you have a administration expense. So, if someone gets a bill, it might be charged to parks and not beach, but when you look at the overall line item, and that flushes itself out over time. as
And
you
that's
start
what,
to
I mean,
see.
I would certainly, as a practical matter, unless it's adding value in terms of making decisions. I mean, these seem like relatively small items, so,
Right.
so consolidating
Right.
consolidating the line items for, unless it's adding informational content or value for decision-making, keep it simple,
right.
okay? Mr. Anderson.
What is the credit card services for parks for?
So we have line items, at least within the DPW budgets, that have credit card fees that are paid for by credit cards, a credit card expense that has to come out of the budget somewhere. So that's a credit card expense for when people go through and pay for their beach sticker with a credit card, pay for their
Oh, okay.
you know,
I was just looking at.
parking at the beach. They'll-
Oh, okay. That's, okay. I didn't realize it was for
I
beach.
think the
too.
majority of it is parking at the beach, so when you go in, you
Yeah.
can swipe your credit
Yep.
card, and so what happens is we pay that credit card fee. This, but I do want to mention, this is a policy that we're looking at, because usually what will happen is like, we like to put on that fee, the fee onto the user. But this is something, this is long-standing, so we don't want to,
So why would
Change.
25 be blank?
why would, what?
20 fiscal year 25 be blank then?
I
Those credit card fees got charged somewhere else.
must have, yeah,
okay.
because I know that this is something.
There's
that we've
been pretty
talking about.
significant credit card
This
fees
budget,
over time, yeah.
And so the FTE is also incorrect on this one. I believe it's only 6.
There's only 6. I don't know what it says. Oh, yeah, there's only 6.
Again, my fault. What, and just so you know, what happened is I was taking the because we really haven't been adding positions, and we really looked at, when we put the FTE in the warrant articles. And so this was the first time that I built this budget book. So when I finally got the template that I thought would be good, because you can see every department has the same graphs and the same detail, I would clone the page. And when I cloned the page, I didn't change the FTEs in the end. So if I had cloned it from another department, I tried to go through it, but there were some departments that I missed.
We've all been there.
But I will tell you, the warrant booklet is pretty accurate.
And then finally, cemeteries.
Yes, I think cemetery is the last divisional budget. And there's no significant changes here as well. It's not a large division anyway. We only have 1 employee. So that would go to the FTEs if you want to make that adjustment. It's not 10. It's just 1 person. And he does have some seasonal help. And so that's in here as well. But you'll see, like I said, with some of the other budgets, see a lot of zeros under the percent change because there's really no significant changes for cemetery.
I was going to say, if you can pay 10 people for $76,000. Questions on cemetery? Again, I did not send out the key indicators for all of Jeff's departments, but I will be updating those once we get the annual town reports in. I'll update that as well. Any other questions for Jeff? So again, our plan for next week would be to do a provisional vote to approve the budgets that we've just reviewed tonight. Is anybody, do I see a hand? Jennifer's hand.
Yes, I just want to mention that there are going to be changes in the budget for debt. We're looking at a $35 million bond issue in April. Working with the financial advisors, looking at interest rates right now. So I do have figures in here for debt, but that's going to be refined. So I just want to let you know those, especially water, we're doing a lot of borrowing for water. So those numbers are going to change.
Well, again, and so we can either defer that,
Right.
yeah.
Or you could vote the budget, but knowing that the debt,
Debt.
with that. But I just wanted to let everybody know, you will see
Thank you for
some
that
changes
update.
for debt.
Yeah, so that's Jeff, unless you want to hang with us as we talk about budgets.
I'm ready to go home and eat dinner.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jennifer, do you want to add anything at this
Have a
point?
good night.
Thank you.
I really.
Yeah, well, other than we're all sort of going crazy on school budgets. So next item on the agenda, discussion and possible vote to approve prior meeting minutes, which we did get the 21st, and that was included in your packet. Any questions?
I'll move it.
Mr. Anderson,
Second.
Harding. Any other, seeing none? All in favor, say, of approving the minutes? Alyssa,
Aye.
Nate,
Aye.
Raphael,
Aye.
George,
All right,
John,
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. So our favorite person, Mary Alice, is going to love it. The minutes from the 28th, the video is available, or has been made available to for recording the draft minutes, which I hope to have available for next week. So our next topic is related to schools and sort of where we're going to go next week. So next week is the DY Regional School District Review. I did post a draft, or I did post the agenda. So that it is our sole discussion. As you probably, because I did also provide everybody with a quick update that based on the current tentative budget, the assessments are going to go up significantly above 2.5%, currently at 10%, which is 3.2, roughly 3.2. Yeah.
Well, the assessment's going to go up, but according to the most recent presentation to the school committee from administration, I believe the assessment is going up 4.3 million. So we've allowed for 1.1. That's where
The net
the
is,
difference is.
So has the school committee voted on that?
they were required, according to the regional agreement, to make, to approve that at their last meeting.
Last
So
meeting.
February 2nd. So you have, they, by the requirements of the regional school district, must approve and must submit that.
And so they have voted in favor?
Yes. Yes, Jennifer.
I will say that an email did go out. It says our DY tentative budget was adopted by the Dennis Yarmouth Regional School Committee on February 2nd, 2026.
Be a school committee guy.
So the town has put an increase for the school budget of 1.1 million?
1.1 million, that was in.
I thought you said billion. Yeah, so
And-
per the practice usually of policy of the select board and the town administrator, we always allow for 2.5% budget increase because we can raise our levy 2.5%. So that comes to about 1.1 million. So we've allowed for that in this budget that you see here.
And theirs is 4.3, including the tech cost?
No, the tech cost is separate. This is just DY.
DUI.
So can I just clarify? I think I know where you're going with this. So the Dennis Yarmouth School Committee presented, right? Their budget went from 80 million to 87 million. So that for Yarmouth was an increase of an assessment by 4.3. So we allow for the 1.1 absent of the Cape Cod Regional Tech.
Now, we've already gotten, and again, I think we talked about this in a prior meeting, that the Cape Cod Tech saw a unprecedented surge of over 30 kids who were admitted into the freshman class. So our proportion of the Cape Cod Tech school budget went up, I think almost 25%.
And let me just clarify. So when we prepare the budget, it's particularly for the regional technical, we have our own process for Dennis Yarmouth. It's a lot larger. So I contact the business manager over at Cape Cod Tech, and what they said, because we have such a large student, she says, plan for 25%. I have not seen the assessment go out yet. I don't know if they voted the budget. So I have not seen final numbers on Cape Tech.
No, they're not finalized, but generally sort of in past years, sort of their budgets.
It's January, I thought.
Does the 25% increase for tech fall within? No,
It's about 700,000 higher.
Right, so we allowed for 2.5% for Cape Tech.
for tech as well,
Yeah,
right?
in this budget, right, so and they said maybe around 25, so we haven't got the final assessment from them in yet, so it's kind of hard to really jump into the number. And the other assessment that we haven't received yet is from Barnstable County.
Right, so which brings us full circle. So part of the reason they can't finalize their number is because they're waiting for the same thing we're waiting for. So the final figure, which is supposed to be voted this week, the healthcare system.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's supposed to be finalized this week, but we still have not gotten the retirement. So both of those factors impact both the budgets of both the schools as well as our budgets.
What would you say the taxpayers average? You just said a number. You just gave a number per taxpayer?
No,
Oh,
no, I'm just saying, we're waiting for the information.
The assessment.
From the assessments from,
okay.
which have not been finalized because they don't have two key pieces of data.
Oh, okay. I thought you said that
No.
they already had a number.
So there's a lot that needs to go into this thing. What I was going to propose so that we have the optimal time with the superintendent and his staff to really sort of look at some of the specifics is I sent out a note and I said, would you be willing to spend some time offline? Because typically the presentations in past years have been like an hour plus of, getting the presentation that he gave to the school committee, with all of the background. So one of the options would be if we could review that in advance and let the superintendent know that we've reviewed that in advance. That could potentially help him shorten his introductory comments, which would then give us more time to review the details. So yes, Nate.
If we hit the town people with the $4 million override, that's a forever override.
There is an option within, you don't always override indefinitely. There is also an underride provision.
Well,
but I'm not going to go there.
No, but what I'm saying is,
It's forever. Yeah.
yeah.
I said we have 23,000 residents, okay? So mentally, I took $4 million divided by 23,000. It's $275 per resident
Right.
override. So if you have a family of 4, you're looking at $1,100.
It's all, no, see, it's better to think about it as a percentage of the tax levy because that's going to be the driver there.
And I'm looking at dollars and cents.
Okay, I'm just gonna jump in for a minute. I don't think we're here yet, because I think we need to get a number. But when you do an override or a debt exclusion, you take that amount. Now, an override, you're right, your levy will go up. So your tax levy will go up permanently.
Yeah.
Okay. Debt exclusion, it only goes up when you're paying the debt, and that debt changes every year. So it goes up and then it would, go down over time. And then what you do is you take that and you do a calculation, and you can go on the DOR website, they have a calculator, and you put in the value of your home because that's the tax rate is set. It's an algebraic equation. So as values goes up, it drives your rate down. Values go down, it drives your rates up because your levy can only be increased by 2.5%. So now you're overriding your levy. So the way you calculate it is what would it be on the tax rate? And then your assessed value on your house. So usually when we present something like that, we would say, okay, the median house value in Yarmouth is whatever. And so this is what it would cost for a median house value. Because if your house value is less, it's going to cost you less. And that's really how you cost out an override and a debt exclusion.
George, stop mowing your lawn.
Okay. So
I guess what I'm saying is that if we raise it, is there anything the town can do or the management or the select board can do to help out the residents not have to abstain?
again,
Can we take free cash or something like that? Because we're going to hit them with like 3 or 4 overrides this year.
So there are options, but my thought is next week is focus on budget that they're presenting. Now, to the school's credit, this is the first time in a long time that we have gotten the level of detail. So, and again, I have a whole bunch of stuff that I have sort of sitting ready to send off to you guys, but I didn't want to send it off to you and overwhelm you with stuff. So that's why I was asking whether or not you'd be willing to put in a little bit of time in advance of next week's meeting.
Raphael has his hand up.
Oh, Raphael. Sir.
Yeah, so just want to piggyback off of respond to Nate's comments. Nate, I completely am against this tentative plan as submitted. There are about 5 or 6 line items that I'm having major heartburn with, and I don't want us to fall into this trap of automatically assuming and approving we need to spend more without having a cut or a reduction or deeper analysis on about, again, 4 to 6 of these line items that don't make sense to me. I'm not an expert at school budgeting, but I do have some common sense, and some of these numbers don't make sense to me. So, as submitted right now, if I'm asked to, vote yes or no, I'm a big no on this one. Just to kind of follow up your comments. Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm a no also.
So before we vote on something that we haven't seen.
I knew that was going to wind you up, Richard.
I was gonna say, again, let's do the hard work that we have to do. And again, I'm going to propose with the consent, that you're willing to put in some time because all of the materials are already posted online. I mean, for those I'm a bit more compulsive, so I've been watching every one of them. So I'm going to ask that if you're willing to do it, take the time. Because if we can't ask intelligent questions, we're going to be right back in the same track.
It is good information, and and I do appreciate it. Let me be clear. The detail and the format that it's all been presented in is very good. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes. Listen.
I know it's online and you said you might have it. Is there a way you could consolidate it for us?
Yes.
To send it? Okay, that's a barrier for me.
Yes.
So thank you. Yes.
Yeah, what I've done is, as I've picked up specific pieces of information, I sort of been capturing them so that at least for me, I could have a more intelligent conversation about.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I built a little, the same calculation. So I have a calculator that does the number that sort of says, what would we have to do? The what if calculator. And so the what if calculator says, because there's lots of moving parts, there's the required minimum contribution, as well as the school regional agreement that plays into all of the calculations of the numbers. So it helps understand, because there have been changes changes at a state level, particularly on the RMD. The RMD alone went up a few percentage points, and that just by itself would have added about 0.6 of a point. So from 2.5 to about 3.1, just that one change at a state level. So there's more, so that's just one example. But I do have all of that information out there. I did talk also with George, because I wasn't sure, so I did give him a quick preview of some of the points. But again, I get a sense from the committee you're willing to do the time. Okay. We'll work on that assumption. I'll send you the links with the information, as well as some of the summary data, which I will share with the superintendent. Mr. Raphael.
So is it okay, Richard, if we summarize, for example, if I have 6 particular items that I'm having heartburn with, a punch list, can I send those to you for consolidation and discussion with the group?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. I think they're the same. It's the same list. So I put them into buckets. Benefits was one. Buildings was another. what was it? There was another one.
Bosses.
Bosses. Oh yeah, the bosses number.
Right.
And then, come on. Oh, buses. And
Buses.
buses was the other one. They were all bees. The killer
Well,
bees.
Yeah, and I had an issue with the 23,330 or something like that. The dramatic increase in paraprofessionals and something else that
Right.
I just was scratching my head on that one.
Okay.
Can we make some working assumptions? Like, is that fair to ask? Such as what you mentioned, that this is not final. And.
It's
that
not
we're
final.
waiting-
It's not final until it is final.
Yes, but I do think we should go into this
Yeah.
knowing that. Yeah,
But it's a little bit of a clock though. And by the way, this is part of the backdrop for this also is starting to be, because there are other districts who have the same issues going into the season. And so there's lots of conversations going in around the state. So,
One more question.
yes, Nate.
Okay, if we end up with this big bucket, are there other things that we can put off, like maybe the library or small?
Again,
I mean, to try to get the money down.
operating, we're talking
Yeah,
operating budget now.
to try to get the money down so we can,
That's capital, that's not operating. Because that's really the issue here is operating.
Well, I mean, I think, I understand the angst, the anxiety of, what we're hearing, right? So I guess what I would say is like, we just need to like take a breath and see and just go through the process. I think it's fair that we just go through the process and, whatever the final number is or what we're looking at, what is, the select board support, what is the town administrator support, what is going to be the big picture, and then like react to that. But you're right, Nate. I will say, I'm not gonna, so when you understand what an override and a debt exclusion, they both raise your taxes.
Yeah.
So when they present the library as a debt exclusion, it won't, even though it will be, like the debt exclusion, say it's, I don't know, $30 million or $28 million. What you do is you amortize that over time with interest, and then you'll have a 40% grant,
Yeah.
right? So it's not, so that will affect your taxes differently, and that eventually goes away and it will decline. It's part of an overall plan and an override, but it does, they both raise your taxes. I don't know how else to, it raises the tax levy in the way that I had explained.
why I'm
before.
asking is, I've got 3 friends that have sold and moved out of Yarmouth because they couldn't afford it.
That's really going to be one of the topics.
They actually sold their house and they moved elsewhere. 2 of them moved off Cape, and one of them moved to a very small facility in Mashpee.
Raphael,
Yes, Raphael.
Jennifer, thank you for confirming that both items raise your taxes, and also for making and for also throwing out the term big picture. And to be transparent with this team, I see this as an opportunity to use to force the discussion of footprint, facilities, because kind of dovetailing to Nate's point, it's not a capital only discussion, but when we continue to ask for money to spend money on buildings, on structures that are underutilized past their design life, that's not a good fair ask for the town folks. Okay, so it's got to be again, just being transparent with this team. I see this as a forcing function to have the discussion. Are we going to continue to continue to increase transportation costs, facilities costs, and other costs associated with underutilized facilities that could be optimized, consolidated, or completely done away with? Thank you.
And I want to point out, and I think this is going to be important in the discussion, so like you'll probably hear me say this over and over again. But when the library is presented and that town meeting warrant article is presented and say it's 28 million or $30 million, that's the amount of the whole, that will be the amount of the project. That isn't the project minus the grant. We'll apply the grant to that, but the rules are, it's the same as MSBA. You have to ask for the authorization for the full amount, and then we will apply the grant. So I just want to let everybody know if that number scares you, like 30 million, it's going to be like probably 40%. The actual, that's just the authorization. The actual cost, you know, that 40% will be applied to that amount. And I'm going to keep saying that, it will be in the explanation, but I just want people to understand that.
So, now the other thing I did, and I don't know if I sent it to everybody, did you get a first draft of the report, the Finance Committee annual report to, oh crap. I sent it.
Did you attach it? I thought George usually writes that.
Yeah, George usually does, but George convinced, he said somebody else has to do it this year.
Okay.
So I will also send that out. I did actually, because Raphael, I was talking with Raphael earlier and he said, I didn't get it. So I said, oh, well, that's strange. So I don't know if did you have a chance just to peruse it?
I made it halfway through.
Okay. I'll
Looks
send
good.
it off. Yeah, I'll send it off to everybody. And again, this is just part of what we have to do every year.
Sure.
George, if you don't like it, the pen is yours.
I won't say boo.
Professors always find something wrong. Cut it out.
Like I say, you know, I'm a big believer in if you don't like it, although I may ask you to run it through your Chat GPT.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think that's everything, unless people are desperate to stay around for another.
Can I just, Jennifer, will you send me that
Yes, I will. I'll
code? All right, good.
forward you the Zoom meeting. I'll do it right now when we get off the,
Right, and Raphael, because
to Raphael.
As long as I get it, thanks. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. By the way, thank you for the other information.
Oh, good. I'm glad you were able to get that. And if you don't, I'm gonna send the Zoom link, and if you have issues again, let me know and I'll try to figure it out.
Okay.
I don't think you should. Okay.
I do expect, by the way, a fuller house next week for the school budget. You know, because we will invite, obviously, Dr. Smith, Dr. Gilson, who is his finance director. Historically, a representative from the school board is there, so it's going to be more than just our usual group.
We're separating out the tech this year though, right?
Right,
Okay, so they won't be here.
right, no, and
It should
it,
be fun.
well, and again, in large part because in past years, the tech has always been very good at holding the line. And again, this is just enrollment. I mean, a problem they have. So do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Oh, the guys who are already home.
The remote guys.
Yeah.
I thought you'd like that.
All in favor, Alyssa,
Hi.
All right.
Nate, Raphael,
Aye.
and
Aye.
George?
Aye.
I'm an I as well, 7-0 at 7:30.
Thank you all. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna